The Premier League is back. The 22-23 Premier League season gets underway this Friday as Arsenal take on Crystal Palace, which means it's time for me to make my Premier League predictions. Last year I got a grand total of 1 right in my Premier League predictions, so I'm feeling pretty confident this year I can make a slight improvement. Starting in 20th place, I have got Bournemouth. I can't really see much happening for Bournemouth this year. They won it last year by the skin of their teeth. They got slightly lucky, to be honest, nearly bottled promotion towards the end. I'm surprised Nottingham Forest didn't quite pip them, but they did beat them with 2 games to go, which secured their promotion. But yeah, they've got Parker as manager, who whilst I don't think he's an awful manager, he is a specialist in relegation, being relegated in 2 of his 2 Premier League seasons, which is not a great start. Their transfer window has been pretty uninspiring. They've signed Marcus Tavernier, Joe Rothwell and Ryan Fredericks, which don't really scream out to me as Premier League survival signings. They've got a very, very championship squad, and I really would be surprised to see them stay up. I think they've quite comfortably got the worst team. They've done the worst business. Just not a whole lot's going for them. I think Bournemouth will get under 25 points this year. I am extremely confident, even if they don't come 20th, that they will go down this year. In 19th, I have got Brentford. They had a very decent season last year. They stayed up against the odds. A lot of people did have them to go down. But the second half of the season was very concerning. In terms of their transfer business, they've done okay. Much better than Bournemouth, but still not really great. It's on Ben Mee, who is Premier League proven. I read that as a sign-in. Strakosha, who I don't really know anything about. Lewis Potter's an okay sign-in from Hull. The last winger to come out of Hull was Jared Bowen, and we all know how well he's doing. And they'll sign Aaron Hickey from Bologna. However, they have lost Christian Eriksen, who was instrumental in getting the points that they did end up picking up in the second half of last season. I could see a very similar thing happening to them that happened to Sheffield United in the sense that second season syndrome. Last year they very much relied on their early start to the season points to keep them up. This year I don't see them starting as well. I see them going down. I think they've got a better chance of staying up than Bournemouth do, but I still don't think it's looking great for Brentford. I've got them to come 19th. Finishing off the relegation spots, I've got Nottingham Forest, newly promoted for the first time in the 21st century, I think. They ended last season very well. As soon as Steve Cooper came in, it was a game changer for them. They were in the relegation zone, I think, with 1 point in 9 games when he came in. They ended up missing out by automatic promotion just about on the second to last game of the season, as I said, after losing to Bournemouth. But had he been there from the start of the season, there's no doubt they would have gone up automatically and maybe even picked Fulham to the title. They have actually done alright in the window, like Dean Henderson, Jesse Lingard, Premier League proven players. They've signed a lot of players though as well. O'Brien and Toffolo from Huddersfield, as well as the likes of Nia Kati, as well as Oriel Mangala and Nico Williams from Liverpool. I do think in Steve Cooper they've got themselves a very decent manager. I think he's better than a few of the managers that are in that sort of lower half of the table. I do think a lot of their signings, bar Jesse Lingard and Dean Henderson, I think they're just a stab in the dark, to be honest. I do think there's a big risk in signing non-English players, especially the likes of Nikati and Iwaniyi, just because we have no idea how they're going to go in the Premier League. And I think when you want to stay up early in the Premier League, you've got to spend well. As we've seen with Fulham and stuff in the past, spending on big players from foreign leagues doesn't always work out. I do want to think Forest do have a chance of staying up though. I think they've done alright in the transfer market, but I think they'll just about miss out on safety. 17th, narrowly missing out on relegation, I have got Fulham, and I've got them to break the curse of them and Norwich just swapping about season after season. I think this year they'll finally do it. They got Mitrovic up front, who banged an outrageous amount of goals in last season, absolutely smashed the championship record. And although I don't think championship goals necessarily correlate to success in the Premier League, when you're scoring that many goals, you're clearly a half-decent striker. The likes of Palhinha, Pereira, and Bernd Leno especially, I think are very solid signings for Fulham that will improve their team. I think it will be very tight there between them and Forest, and it could go either way, to be honest. I do see Fulham getting less than 35 points, so it's more a case of just hoping that the teams below them do worse rather than them doing well. Moving up to 16th, Leeds United. They've lost Phillips and Rafinha, and that is obviously a massive loss for Leeds. With Leeds, this season really is make or break, like I said, with those losses. They've replaced them with non-Premier League proven players, and as I was saying earlier, that is a massive stab in the dark, especially when you're one of those teams near the bottom that's trying to stay up. And with Leeds, it really could go really well or really badly. It wouldn't surprise me if they are relegated this year, if those signings don't work out. The likes of Rocker replacing Phillips and Sinestra replacing Rafinha. They've also got to hope they can keep key players fit this year. Obviously, last year, Calvin Phillips and Patrick Bamford pretty much missed the whole season. And so that was a major part of the reason why they were down there come the end of the season. As I've said, they're taking big risks in their transfers, though. And if they work well, it wouldn't surprise me if Leeds finish even higher. But if they don't work out, Leeds are very much going to be in a relegation dogfight once again this season. In 15th place, Everton. Everton were really poor last year. I had them in like 5th or 6th going into the season. Massively overplayed them. I don't know why. Their squad really isn't that good. And yeah, they stayed up pretty much with 2 games or 3 games to go last year. I think they'll mildly do better this year, but not by a whole lot. I do think they'll be in that sort of relegation scrap come the end of the season, but I think they'll be a little bit clearer than they were last season. I think McNeil and Tarkowski are both very decent signings. I know they were both part of a relegated Burnley team last year, but they're both Premier League proven, have been for a while. McNeil on his debut, I know it's a friendly, but he did score 2 goals. Tarkowski as well is a very decent centre-back who was linked with the likes of Leicester when they were doing well a few years ago. On a free transfer, I think that's good business by Everton. I don't think Lampard's a great manager, but equally, I don't think he's awful. I think he's better than some of the ones down there. Like I say, I think they'll survive, but they won't do much more. 14th, I have Brighton. Brighton are just Brighton, aren't they? They're decent to watch. They're okay at football. I don't have much more to say. Brighton will finish 14th. Southampton are the team I've got in 13th place. Southampton's business is really, really interesting. It's a very, very different strategy to a lot of the other teams. They signed City's like head of academy or something like that recently, and as a result, they've pretty much been trying to nick all of our academy players. They've gone and signed Bazunu and Lavia from the academy. They've also gone in for Edozie. They tried to sign Delap, but that bid was rejected. They've also gone inside Mara from Bordeaux, who's quite highly rated, and Joe Aribo, who had a very, very good time in Scotland with Rangers. I've been saying a lot, without the Premier League proven quality, when you're a bottom half team, it's always a big risk. But to be fair to Southampton, they get it right more often than they get it wrong. Their business in the past has been very good. They've always been good at things like that, like Virgil van Dijk, Mane, Lallana, Lambert. They've gone through periods where they've done incredibly well with their business, and they've gone on to make a lot of money from those young players. The thing with Southampton, though, they always seem to start the season well, and then they just drop off at the end of the season when they've got nothing to play for. And as a result, they fall quite far down the table and almost get themselves in a relegation dogfight, but the start of the season just about saves them from that. It is also worth noting that they've lost Broge last year, who was a decent chunk of their goals, which will be a big miss, although they will be hoping Marek can replace those goals. I'd be surprised if Southampton finished much lower, but if the youth players don't work out, they definitely could. But I think 13th for Southampton's are pretty reasonable. 12th place, Crystal Palace. Palace did very, very well to succeed last year and stay up. A lot of people had them in their bottom 3, with them losing. It was like 16 players, their main squad. They had Patrick Vieira, who had minimal experience, no Premier League experience. But in the end, in FA Cup semi-final, they got 4 points out of a possible 6 against Man City. They took points off quite a lot of the big teams, and they looked very, very decent. I can't say I do know a lot about their new signings, bar Johnston, who was okay when he was last in the Premier League, so I guess that is an okay signing. But their squad that they signed last year is a very, very young one. It's only going to improve. The likes of Elise, all young players that are just going to be better than they were last year as they grow and gain experience in the Premier League. 11th, Villa. It's a big statement by Gerrard, taking Mings out of captain and giving it to John McGinn. The signings of Kamara and Carlos are potentially very interesting ones. Carlos was linked with City only 2 years ago, just before we signed Ruben Diaz. I think he can be a bit of a liability, but he also has the potential to be a very, very solid player for Aston Villa. I thought Villa were really underwhelming last year. After they sold Grealish, I thought they invested really well. I think most people thought they were invested really well and saw them maybe even pushing for Europe, but it ended up being a really, really poor season last year for Villa. I think they finished 14th. I think this season will be similar. I think it'll be fairly underwhelming, but I think they'll finish 11th. I think they'll do slightly better, but still nothing special from Villa. 10th place, Wolves. I think I might have over-anticipated Wolves a little bit here, to be honest. Nathan Collins from Burnley, their only real signing. He's a decent player, but he's nothing special. Their defence was already pretty solid last year as it was. However, I do think their team is slightly better than those below them, and so I've got them in 10th place. 9th place got Leicester. Once again, I do think I've overshot Leicester here. I think they could actually be in for a slightly rough time. Pretty much no signings made. They're about to lose Schmeichel. They might be losing Fofana. They might be losing Maddison, and if they don't reinvest, they are going to be in serious trouble. The teams I placed between 9th and 14th could pretty much end up in any order, so I wouldn't read too much into it, but yeah, I've got Leicester finishing sort of best of the rest. For the same reason the Wolves, I just think they're better than every team below them, and that's what I've got them 9th. But like I say, if they do lose these key players and they fail to replace them, I know they're not replacing Schmeichel, they're going with Danny Ward as their number 1 once he's gone to Nice. I do think they're going to be in some serious trouble. In 8th place, I've got West Ham. The Hammers begin the season on Sunday against Manchester City, where we, fingers crossed, we'll be getting all 3 points. It was a very, very good season again from West Ham last year. Europa League semi-finalist, Europa Conference League qualification. This year they've added Areola in permanently. I think he was there part-time last year on loan. And they've signed Samaka, which is what they needed. They needed goals. I can't say a whole lot about him, but he's a striker who will hopefully bring them goals. Their squad in the last 2 years, though, has proved that they're capable of competing. I think a lot of people last year thought in the Europa League they'd struggle to keep up in the league with all the games and the small squad they had, but they proved us wrong. Keeping Declan Rice is a really, really good piece of business from West Ham. He's only going to be better once again this year. I think he's meant to be their captain. I see them going a distance in the Conference League. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on to win that. They've not... I'd say they're definitely one of the best sort of 3 teams in there. Their Conference League qualifying matches against someone from like the Faroe Islands or something, so they're going to comfortably win that one. And like I say, more depth can only be a positive thing for West Ham. They've not lost anyone major. I know they've lost Mark Noble, but he wasn't playing that much at the end anyway. Sitting just above them, missing out just on the big six, is Newcastle, who ended last season very, very well. A lot less business than I expected from Newcastle, to be fair, but their squad was looking very good in the last season, and the small amount of business they have done has been very, very solid. Beating AC Milan to Sven Botman is very, very solid. Nick Pope's a Premier League proven goalkeeper. He's proven himself for Burnley throughout the last 3 or 4 years, so I think that's a very, very decent signing position that Newcastle did need to improve on. I think West Ham and Newcastle could quite comfortably be swapped around, but I'm pretty confident they'll both be 7th and 8th. We move on into the Big Six as it's known, and in 6th place I've got Manchester United. I think all United fans would say this summer has been very, very disappointing. It will be to see how Ten Hag does, and who knows, if he can get them kicking, they may even finish hard in 6th, but I think right now they probably look the most underwhelming of the Big Six teams. I do think they'll start very, very well. I think their sort of new management will be prominent, but I do see them dropping off as they did last season, to be honest. I know they signed Ericsson, but he wasn't really needed. They've already got Bruno in that second position. They might sit with just 1-6 this year, but when you've only got McTominay and Fred available in that position, I don't think you can really get away with just 1-6, to be honest. Martinez could be an alright centre-back, but again, he's 5'9", and I do think it's wrong to write them off when they're small, because I think Nathan Ake is a great example of a small centre-back that is very, very good even in the air. But I do think being under 6 foot as a centre-half is concerning. There is every chance, though, I am writing off United too early here, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did go on to do better. But right now, I do think they're the worst of the Big Six. Moving on to the last spot, missing out on the Champions League. In 5th place, I've got Chelsea. It's been really, really disappointing stuff from Chelsea so far. They obviously lost Rudiger, they've replaced him with Koulibaly, they've brought in Sterling up top, they've lost out on Lukaku after his poor season last year. He's gone on loan to Inter. They're also set to bring in Mark Cucurella, who City were after. I don't really know if they needed him or not. Apparently he might be featuring at left centre-back, but I'm not too sure about that one. Their pre-season's been really, really poor as well, losing 4-0 to Arsenal. They've drawn to some American teams. They're beating Club America 2-1. It's been pretty underwhelming stuff. Like I said, they're signing as Koulibaly and Sterling. I think they're both decent signings, but I do think they've been made to look pretty amateur this window, losing out on Koundé and Rafinha when both deals look pretty much done. The issue with Chelsea is they really lack attacking threat. They've got a front three that could consist of Sterling and Werner in it. That is enough to make any Chelsea fan cry, honestly. Having watched Sterling for the last 6 years, I think he's been amazing for City. But you can't deny his ability in front of goal is awful, and Werner's is likewise. In 4th place, Arsenal. I've got them getting into the top 4 finally this year. Really, really good business so far for Arsenal and a really, really good pre-season. Zinchenko and Jesus are both very, very good signings. Premier League proven, Premier League champions. They are top quality players. It reminds me a lot of when City tried to compete at first. We went to Arsenal, we signed the likes of Clichy, Adebayor, Nasri, etc. We went to the top teams, we took away some of their players, and that was the way we tried to compete with the teams at the top. Jesus will no doubt bag at least 15 goals in all competitions next season. If they can keep Partey fit, their midfield is looking very, very decent. I do think they'll burn out a little bit at the end of the season, but I think their start of the season should hopefully be enough for them to see out top 4. I think the World Cup being in the middle of the season as well will help them recharge the batteries and go again sort of in the second half of the season. In 3rd place, I think it's pretty obvious, I'm going Tottenham. Conte's manager is a game changer. He's the 3rd best manager in the league, and I'm pretty sure about that one. I still think they're some way off City and Liverpool, but they do have a very solid team. They've done decent business. The likes of Perisic, Bissouma and Richarlison, all very, very decent signings. You could even maybe argue now they've got the best attack in the league with Kulusevski, Son, Kane, Richarlison. I still think they need to improve centre-backs a little bit. I know they've signed Longley, but I think he's a little bit of a liability. Romero's very solid. I know Eric Dyer was decent towards the end of last season under Conte, but I don't know how much he can be relied on when it matters. They did last season well, and I see them doing very, very well this season as well. 3rd place for Spurs. In 2nd place, I'm going with a team that finished 2nd place last year. They nearly won the league, but they didn't. Liverpool. 100% confident Liverpool end up this season in the top 2. I could not see them dropping out of the top 2. I know some people have got like Spurs in 2nd. I can't see it myself. I think they're probably a little bit weaker than last year. I know they signed Darwin Núñez, but they have lost Sadio Mane, and that is a lot to lose. They've also got key players getting older. I know Salah's still top quality, but he's not going to start the season as well as he started last year, in my opinion, although he might have a better second half of the season than he did last year. It does also help with players like Salah, I guess, not being in the World Cup. He'll get to recharge himself over that Christmas period. I think players like Elliott might start to step up a little bit to help them with their squad depth a bit, but that midfield I still think is looking a little bit light. I think Núñez will do decent this year. I think he looked good in the Charity Shield last week. I don't think he's quite Erling Haaland though. I know Erling Haaland missed a sitter in the Charity Shield and Núñez scored, but I still think Haaland will be significantly better. I think it'll be a strong season for Liverpool, but I do think City are going to win the Premier League this year. Anyway, moving on to first place, as I just said, Manchester City, my team, have got us to win 3 in a row, equaling Manchester United's Premier League record. The squad has got even better than last year. The left back is a slight concern. We do need a left back big time. Getting rid of Zinchenko, in my opinion, was amateur stuff from City. But apart from that, we've improved dramatically. A lot of people going on about Haaland won't adapt to the City system. I've got no doubts. The amount of chances City create, Haaland's got to put them away. It doesn't matter if he's in the Bundesliga, the Premier League, it doesn't matter what league he's in. A chance is a chance, and Erling Haaland knows how to finish his chances. I also think that signing of Alvarez is a really, really exciting one for City. An absolute bargain of a player. In the two or three games we've seen him in, I think he's very, very good. He's energetic, he's quick, and it was nice to see him get a goal in the Charity Shield as well on Saturday. A lot of the points we dropped last year, like to Tottenham, like to Palace, like to Southampton, were due to chances missed. And as I said, Erling Haaland, he solves that problem. You've also got to remember we got KDB fit from the beginning of this season. He wasn't fit until January last year, which is a game changer again. In my opinion, this is the most exciting season to be a City fan since that Centurion season, 17-18, we made all those signings, Edison, Bernardo. It's that kind of vibe to window, although I do think it has been dampened by the lack of left back, and that needs to be addressed before the end of the window. Anyway guys, there are my Premier League predictions for the 2022-23 Premier League season. Leave your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know your champions, your top 4, and your bottom 3. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Anyway, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back again with the matchday vlogs. West Ham away, the season gets underway. I'm going to do all of the games this year for City, home and away, all in Europe, doing the lot. So definitely subscribe. There's a lot of vlogs coming your way. Hopefully it'll be better than ever. Got a new camera and all that coming this week. But yeah, I'll see you guys then. Goodbye.